So now you're directing, which you must love if you have this background.
Oh, what's funny is that
Hey, I'm Elise Baughman. I'm the voice of Pan on Dragon Ball GT, and I am with Anthony Bowling.
Hello, I am Anthony Bowling, voice actor and director.
And this is Anime Adventures, the show where I bring you anime voice actors.
I talk to a lot of the other directors, and most of them are like, man, I'd rather be behind the camera directing, doing that, and I'm like, I like acting more. But I'm more in love with the creating characters and being these unique things. I mean, I love directing, but it's almost like when you're a stage actor and you go see a friend in a play and you're like, gosh, I wish I was up there. And it's that kind of yearning to just be like, oh, they sound so good and I just want to be a part of this. I absolutely love directing, but I think that's why I really excel at that, is because it's almost like, oh, I don't want to do it, but it's like, but I do. Like, so I'm finding ways to make it fun and all that, because I enjoy it way more than I thought I would.
Oh, interesting.
Because I was kind of scared, because I remember in in college, when I would take directing classes, I was like, I hate this. I don't like directing. I could never be a director. And
never say never.
Yeah, never say never, because here we are. But it is something that I grew into. I genuinely do love doing it. But I mean, when people say, I was like, no, I like acting. I want to act. I want to perform. I love performing. So it's the actor in me. It's a bug. I have to perform.
Well, it's probably also what makes you a good director, though. If you've got that performance bug, you get the actor, and then that probably makes you a good director. You know how to talk to the actors.
Yeah,
you know
it's some of my favorite.
Yes, you know what a good performance is. So let's talk about some of the shows you're directing or have directed, and then, well, let's do that first. And then I have a follow-up question.
Oh, no, you got a secret mystery follow-up?
I've got a mystery follow-up.
Let's see. Actually, the first show that I got on my own, and I started initially, there was a period of time where I was kind of just doing shows and kind of just there, and I was like, well, sometimes actors think, why am I not doing more? Why am I was thinking that, but then I wasn't doing anything about it. It was sitting there like, why is nothing happening for me? It's like, oh, because I'm not trying. I'm not doing.
Yes.
So what I decided was, I'm going to go and I'm going to be active and I'm going to talk to people, and I started asking some of the directors around Funimation. I'm very good friends with Jeremy Inman, so he and I would hang out, and I was like, what's it take to direct and what's all that? And he's like, it's about time. And he's like, because I've known him for as long, and he's been doing it longer than I have, but he was like, you've been here longer than some of these other directors, and he's like, and you've never asked, you never wanted to do this? And I was like, no, you're right. Like, I never thought I was ready or wanted to apply myself. So he kind of took me under his wing and was letting me sub-direct. And then he had some things happen, some family issues happening. And the show I was helping him with, he couldn't finish the last 2 episodes. So there were 2 weeks where his 2 shows, they were like, you're going to have to do those 4 episodes because you're doing that. So I literally was kind of just like tossed in. But luckily, my background in this, I had at the time about 10 years experience just in the booth. So it was like, okay, well, you know how to direct. You've taken classes. You have your degree. So now I just need to translate that to this. And then eventually you get more confident and you start to understand things a little bit better. But once that happened, then they offered me my own show called Knights and Magic, which actually, if I'm gonna duck out right here.
Out of frame for a second.
Yeah, I actually brought the DVD, the Blu-ray with me. Yeah, this was really fun because I think season 2 of My Hero had just come out, and this lead character is named Ernesty, and it is supposed to be in the Japanese. A lot of people tease him because you see him grow up, but they're like, oh, you sound like a girl, like we thought you were a girl.
My name's Ernesty, by the way.
Wait, you're a boy?
You're lucky I was training here.
It's like, no, I'm a boy. So I was like, well, what are some boys that sound younger that if I needed them to, because if I cast a woman in that role, I don't know where the show's going to go, but I know he grows up. So can a woman convincingly maybe be a 20-year-old guy? Like, I'd have to get 2 actors. So maybe I could try and reverse engineer and get a guy. And they were like, have you heard Justin Briner? And I was like, I've heard that name, but I didn't watch My Hero, so I didn't know he was one of the biggest things ever. And I put him in that role, and he started off as a sweet little baby boy, and then he's got such great range. So it was like as he grew up, because the show, luckily, it was like he's a baby. 3rd episode, 5 years later. 5th episode, 5 years after that. So it was kind of like, oh, that worked out. So that was kind of my first, but I loved working with him. That was kind of my first foray into that. Very proud of that show. I love it very dearly.
Okay,
It was my first. So
check that out.
yeah. So I've done that. I've gotten to do some other shows. Day Live, the season 3 of that, which was a lot of fun. Last season I did a show called Mix, a baseball show. A show called YUNO, Y-U-N-O. A historical one that was very loosely based on the War of the Roses, the 100 Years War, I actually believe, which I say loosely based because they changed a lot of characters. Like historically, we're like, oh, these are guys, but they didn't change the name. They were just like, oh, they're girls now. And they're with this person who is now this person. And so a lot of historical names, a lot of changing. And then all of a sudden, like, aliens enter into it. And it's like, well, historically, I don't think that happened. But very loose. But one of the people that I believe you already talked to, Emily Neves,
Yes, I did talk to
she
her.
wrote on that show. So her and I, we had known each other a little bit because we had done a convention together. Actually, one of my first conventions ever was where I met her, so I had already known her a little bit from that. So that's always fun to also like meet these people and then get to work with them in these different aspects and kind of writing and directing. And then this season, show that I'm very excited about is called Plunderer. So that's on right now, and we're on episode 5 right now. But that is a very unique show, a lot of twists in it. And for those of you who know anything about it and have read the manga, you know that there's a lot that goes on there. It starts off, it's a slow burn.
Okay.
It's like, why are they talking about like these 3 people for 3 episodes, and then it just turns like anything. So it's a weird world where everything's ruled by numbers that you're born with. They go up and down, and if they hit 0, you get sucked into the earth and no one knows what happens to you. A lot of fighting, a lot of humor. So it's just a really cool show, and I know where it's going. And that's why I'm excited for it, where it's
Really?
kind of like, oh, you don't know what's going to happen. So just like any anime where it's like, oh, it's going to go this way. It's like, no, you have no clue where this is going.
Really?
So that one's really fun. I really enjoy that. And
One Piece?
yes, I am working. And as everyone, the fans, everyone's rejoicing because One Piece is back.
Yes.
They were asking, which is always funny because whenever anyone would announce a show they're doing, you would see in a comment at least one person, when's One Piece coming back? But that is back. We are doing it, and we are doing them in these kind of big batches. So along with Mike McFarland, who has been working on it from the beginning, he is the guru, the sensei. He knows all about it. So he's been working on that. I've gotten to dip my toe into the One Piece pond. It's
Nice.
A lot of people say it's the rite of passage for the directors. So,
That's exciting.
yeah, but it's really fun because I get to work with all these people that I know and love, and also on a wonderful legacy show. So that's just
Yes.
really cool to kind of get in that. It's a nightmare, but it's fun. It's a fun nightmare.
It's so exciting. Well, here is the question that I was going to ask
Yes.
a long time ago. I just want to hear the directed, like some behind the scenes as a director, and maybe not behind the scenes, but some things that you do to prep that people may not know. Because when you think of a director in the booth, you typically think, okay, they're directing the actor. But there's so much more to directing than just that aspect of it.
Yes. I guess kind of going down the line, what a lot of people don't realize is they'll say, oh, do you get like, when we used to record, way back when, and it was for DVD only,
Right.
we would get all those episodes ahead of time, so you could see that character arc and say, oh yeah, we have all 24 episodes of this. So you were like, oh, I'm going to record my character in, 3 weeks, and then you're done, and then 6 months later, here's a DVD. But now, it is week to week, so unless a manga is done by it that is ahead of the anime, you don't really know what's going to happen. It's this kind of like a tightrope act where it's like, I'm going to cast someone, I hope they don't die next episode, or, that happens. So, going into that, we have to kind of prep, and sometimes we don't get to pick our shows. Sometimes it's down to scheduling. I was told a couple times, hey, you're going to have to do these shows, and it's like, cool, like, let's do it. So, and sometimes, you request shows and maybe it doesn't work out, but once you do get your shows, you research them, look through and say, well, I might not be able to audition. I need to listen to some voice files, or let me look at these characters. Oh, that looks like so-and-so, or I haven't worked with so-and-so. And casting, a lot of times people will say, oh my gosh, you're wonderful in this role, and do that. And I said, you got to give some credit to these directors who, on both sides, now I've seen both sides of that.
Yes.
The director sees something in that actor and says, you're right for this because of this, or I think you can do this, even though you're not known for this, or whatever. And they help guide the actor, whereas the actor also guides the director and says, this is what I can do, this is what I bring to the table. So it's this beautiful dance of kind
That's
of
a good way to say it.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful dance.
Yeah, so I always like to say in the studio, it is 30, 30, 40.
Mm-hmm.
So it is 30% the actor, 30% the engineer, who the engineers do amazing work.
Amazing,
They make sure
yes.
things fit, they will stretch, they will take out pops, they will help you. And I always rely on my engineer to, how's this sound, how's that sound? And then the 40 comes from the director, because that extra 10% is the final word.
Yes.
So I like to say, well, we can all agree on something, but if we're all at odds, at the end of the day, I have to put my approval on that and say, well, this is what I want and this is why I want it. I have to take charge. I'm the director. I'm responsible for this. But I love working that way rather than saying it's 100% me. This is what I want. This is how you do it, because I started in acting and I love acting, so it's like, well, if you're not having fun in the booth, if we're not having fun together, if we don't enjoy each other's company, why are we doing it? So
That's true.
So I love having that aspect. So that's kind of step one right there. And then once we get the show, you work with the writers and the actors, and things might change depending on that. And just to kind of prepare for that, just having that information ready for anyone who might need it. You're the captain of the ship at that point. So that's kind of what I do to prepare. And I like to do character development in the sense where it's like, here's who you are and here's what it might be akin to. So like, your character's like this. So I was like, let's just have fun with it. And okay, good. Now rather than saying, say that angrier, like, okay, this is why you're saying this. Give me that read. Because it's very easy to say, slow it down, where it's like, hey, be more somber, and that will get the slow read that you want. So I like working and speaking in actors lingo and kind of doing that. So, and I know everyone works different, which is beautiful.
Sure.
So, but that's my process, and that's how I like to do it. So it's kind of fun just to be like, what works for you, and it kind of also will change actor to actor. So that's what I enjoy.
That's really interesting. I like all of those details.
Yeah. So that's fun, and I'm trying to think if there's any other aspects, but I mean that's really it. I mean we're seeing it a week before a lot of you see it, so that's kind of like nerve-wracking, sometimes, especially when you're acting, directing, or whatever. It's like, I don't know what's going to happen. So
Keeps it exciting.
Keeps you on your toes.
Hey,
Oh,
great minds.
we did it.
We did it.
Did it, nailed
right
it.
There. Nailed it.
yeah.
So my last question, what is your favorite thing about anime? Working in anime, being part of this community?
Oh, the community, definitely. I have made so many really good friends. I love coming to these cons and seeing, because we don't get to see the direct effect. Mm-hmm. I mean,
Agreed.
How great is it that we get to say, we're a part of something. For me, it was always Dragon Ball, but to say, you're always and forever, that's you. It's like, do you know who your parents are? Your parents are the Gohan. It's like, yeah, that's your parents. You're you get to do that, and then that I get to say, yeah, one time, Vegeta kicked my butt on screen. I love that just these possibilities are available to us, and just to say, that's really cool to get to meet fans and to see them be affected by something you do, the way when I've met some of my heroes, it's
yes.
like, wow, I'm that to someone. It's really cool, that you can affect people. And I've always loved performing. I've always loved doing things like that. But anime is just such a cool, unique format that has a lot of really neat stories that there are to tell. So it's not something that I ever thought I'd be doing, but now, here we are.
Here we are.
So,
true.
yeah.
I know. I never expected to be in this world, and I
it's
absolutely
really cool.
love it. It's so cool. Wow. Okay. Well,
Definitely.
Let's say bye, and I
All
like
right.
ending in a character voice. So
Oh,
which character voice would you
goodness.
like to end in? I know.
All right.
This seems like it's always the hardest question for actors.
I
ask
know,
all these questions, and then the end they're like, "Oh,
Don't
how
make
can
me-
you put me on the spot like?"
We're actors. We only do it for money.
We just
Pay me.
I know, she's not paying me.
She's not paying me enough. Well, here.
I'll give you a quarter when we're done.
Oh, perfect. That's all I need. Well, here, I'll do one of my favorites that I'll do
Okay.
since we are at my Hero Con.
We
I'm
are.
gonna
You
head
should.
back. I'm gonna head back
Okay.
to my boy Chrono right there.
Okay.
And I'll say that because his line where he always had to tell his boss overhaul that they gotta go. And I'd say, I guess it's time for us to skedaddle. We gotta get out of here.
We gotta get out of here. We're leaving.
We're leaving.
We're gonna skedaddle.
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 Yeah.
Yeah.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye.